Hello, Fun Bridge players. My name's Gavin Wolpert, and I'm here to be your instructor for the January Masterclass. So, I decided to do this on a subject that I think is pretty important, and it's about improving your match point scores. Everybody wants to do better in their pair games. They see that they get sometimes 30%, 40% on boards, and they just want to start doing a little bit better. And so I'm going to start this by just going over a wide list of things that we can do to improve our match point score. But then I'm going to focus heavily on declare play and how you can improve your declare play to improve your match. So let's go. Let's talk about some stuff. So first things first, let's go over a list. The first thing I think of when I think of what most people do badly in match points is they tend to not respect the vulnerability. The worst thing that you can do at match points is go minus 200. Minus 200 is an absolute disaster because minus 200 scores is a worse score than any part score that the opponents make. If they're in two spades, they make 110. If they're in three clubs, they make 110. Or three spades, they make 140. So if you're going minus 200, you're going to get a bad score every day of the week. So it's really, really important that you respect the vulnerability. When you are vulnerable, you need to bid less. And I think that the biggest, most important thing is to avoid overbidding with balanced hands when you're vulnerable. When you're unbalanced, you often can take a lot of tricks, but when you have a balanced hand that usually have a lot of losers, and overcalling on bad balanced hands or over competing on bad balanced hands is a mistake that I see happen just all the time in online games and also at the bridge club. But on the other side of it, if you want to be a really effective match point, you need to be really aggressive when you're non-vulnerable. There's a huge incentive to bidding more when you're only going minus 50 a trick. When you go minus 50, minus 100 into the opponent's 110 or 140, that's obviously a great score. So it's really important that when you're non-vulnerable, I open more aggressively when I'm non-vulnerable. I overcall more aggressively when I'm non-vulnerable. I preempt more aggressively when I'm non-vulnerable. I get in the opponent's face more when I'm non-vulnerable. I even go so far to say that I open like way more hands, 11-point hands when I'm non-vulnerable because I like to be first into the auction. And I don't care if I go down. That's the key when you're playing match points. Going down often is a good way to get a good score. So be aggressive when you're non-vulnerable, but respect being vulnerable, particularly with balanced hands. So the next thing is that everybody wants to learn how to do more, and this is a subject all on its own, and that is doubles the opponents more often. You need to get your penalties. What I just discussed about being more aggressive and kind of going down can be a good score at match points. When you're entitled to a plus score, like plus 140, and your opponents bid one more, and they only go down 50 or 100, you're going to get a bad score. So you need to learn to double the opponents more often, more aggressive. And sometimes that'll mean that you're going to double the opponents when they make the contract. And that's okay. If you're not ever doubling the opponents when they make the contract, you're probably not doubling enough. So the next thing is I wanted to, which is maybe the most important thing. I know we're going to end up talking about declare play a lot. I am going to go into a little bit of bidding just before we go into some hands. So I prioritize plus scores over bidding games. When you're playing teams, there's a huge incentive to bid game. You get these big score bonuses, right? If you bid a vulnerable game, you get plus 620. And when you're playing a game where the difference in score is how you're scored, so 620 minus 170 is 450, then you get more points for bigger scores. Of course, you want to be in aggressive games. And I think that we've all been taught to bid aggressive games and be aggressive to bid game. But the reality is at match points, plus scores are everything. And you can win a hand by getting 10 more points than the opponents or with one extra over trick. And I think that that's where the game is won and lost. So I have this mentality of don't lose the hand in the bidding. Try to get to the same contract that everybody else is in and then try to win the hand in the play. So where you're going to find that the field does not bid games when they have 22, 23 points. They are waiting for 25 points to bid a game. And same thing with slams. 33-point slams is all that people bid. People don't get to slams where you only have 30 or 29 points. Now, of course, if you have good system and you can find out good things like shortness opposite nothing, you can definitely get to some good aggressive slams and games. But my experience is that I don't mind missing slam. I don't mind missing game. I hate going down. I find that if you're bidding slams and going down, you're losing the hand in the bidding. When the reality is, if you're just in game and you can take that 12th trick, usually just taking the 12th is enough. So that's the idea. Is you really just want to stay low, get your plus score, be in the same contract as everybody else, and then grind the over tricks. And that is the part that this masterclass is mostly going to be discussed. It's being hungry for over tricks. We're going to build a thought process on taking more tricks. It's really, really important that we don't just look at a hand and say, okay, I'm in 3-no trump. I need to take 9 tricks. No, you don't need to take 9 tricks. You need to take as many tricks as you possibly can. Don't set a goal for making your contract. That is the wrong mentality at Matchpoint. And that's what we're going to go over today. All right. So first, a couple of ideas about this concept of no need to bid close games. And as I already said, the world doesn't get to aggressive games. Staying low and being in the same contract is the winning strategy. So here's my favorite spot. And this spot alone, if you don't watch the rest of the masterclass, this is the most important spot you're going to find. So when partner opens a club, I make money off of this bid, this situation over and over and over. And I tell my students in my webinars on my website, I say like this, I consider this situation to be free cheese. It's free cheddar. Every time it comes up, I feel like I'm winning against the world. So take this as my absolute master tip, beyond whatever else comes up in this class, is when your partner opens the bidding and you respond to major or one level and partner rebids 1-no trump. They are showing 12 to 14 points. When you have 12 to 14 opposite 11. So, and this is the spot, is when we have 11 points opposite a 12 to 14 1-no trump bid. It's very key. They've limited their hand to 14 points and we have 11. This is a spot where you do not want to invite. It's very important. You don't want to invite. When you invite, 2 bad things can happen to you. The first thing is you could bid 2-no trump and your partner can pass. And you might go down in 2-no trump. One partner has a minimum. The second bad thing that can happen to you is you can invite and partner can accept the game invite and be in 3-no trump. And 3-no trump is not always going to make. So 2 bad things can happen to you and only one good thing can happen to you. You can get to a 25-point game that makes. But here's the thing. 25-point games are touch and go. They're almost always going to need a finesse, maybe a suit break or 2. It's never just, not never, of course not never. Sometimes you'll just have 9 rippers and you're going to take 9 tricks and that's it. And there's going to be no question. You're going to fit perfectly with your partner. But the reality is most 25-point games, they are close and they're not all going to make. So even if you could do a game that you don't want to be in, where it's like a 60% game or a 55% game to make, you still are going to go down some of the time. So when you sum it all up, the huge edge is in stopping in 1 and securing your plus score. Because anytime partner is not accepting the invite and everybody else is in 2-no that invited, you get to play 1-no. And you still can take as many tricks as they can. And that's why we do need to not just focus on making our contract. We have to be focused on taking as many tricks as but we want to do it in the cheapest contract we possibly can. So mark this one down. Your partner opens, you respond. Partner rebids 1-no, 12 to 14. When the most you can have is 25 points, it's usually better to stay low. Because even if in the best case scenario, when you have a combined 25, it's going to be a close game. Okay, I just want to take a look at a traveler. I grew up with my mom as a bridge teacher, and we used to not have computers to score hands. And so I used to go with her to classes and I would see something like this. Basically every table would have a little piece of paper and you'd have to mark your score into that piece of paper. It was called a traveler. And that traveler went around table to table throughout the day, and every table that played the hand, they would write their score in. And then at the end of the game, somebody would have to go and tally up how many match points each pair got. And that was often my job as a kid. So I got to see a lot of these travelers. And this is a very, very common type of traveler that you see. And it's where you see that most of the field is in 1-no. but a couple pairs got to an aggressive game of 3-0. And you see there was one sprinkled in 2 hours. There's always a random result or two on the Traveler. But so a couple of pairs bid 3-0, and it was a close 3-0. Maybe it was on a guess for a queen or something. But one pair made it, and they got a top. One pair went down, and they got a bottom. But you can see there's a third score in the middle. There's a 1-no trump that I have grayed out there, making 150. And when you're making 150, they got a really good score for being in 1-no trump making 3. They didn't need to get to game to get that good score, if you see what I'm saying. Is just by taking 9 tricks, by doing better than everybody else in the play, they secured themselves a really, really good score. So they didn't risk playing 2-no down 1, they didn't risk 3-no down 1, and they still got their top. And this is a very common thing, that when you get to these aggressive games, when it makes sure you're going to get a top, but you're putting the whole hand on the line of whether you can take 9 tricks on the hand. Whereas, look at pair number 8 on this list. They made 8 tricks. And so, and 8 tricks was good for a really good board. But if they took 8 tricks in 3-0, they were getting a bad board. So this is the idea that you really want to stay low and you want to win the hand in the play. Now, if you and your partner have 26 points, 27 points, everybody's going to be in 3-0. And obviously playing 1-0 is going to be a disaster. What I'm saying is that we don't push to close games. We don't want to invite when the best we can have is 25 points. Okay, let's get to the meat of this masterclass. And that is stop settling for making my contract. We need to build a thought process that is entirely about taking the maximum number of tricks that we can. And this is the way that you're going to, by far and away, improve your match point game more than any other way, is by being hungry for these over tricks. Okay, so now let's take a look at some hands. So this first hand, we've opened 1-no trump with the south hand. We have a nice 16-point hand, and our partner has 13, and they bid 3-no trump. Very normal hand. Everybody in the room is going to have the same option. We're in the same contract as everybody else. So here we are, and we go to count our trick. We have the ace king of spades is 2. We have the ace king of hearts is 4. We have 4 diamonds to make it 8, and we have the ace of clubs is 9. And now our goal here is going to be to take more tricks. And when we look where we're going to build more tricks, there's only one place that we could possibly build more tricks, and that is in clubs. And the optimal way to play the clubs is by finessing through east twice. We can go to dummy and we can run the 9 of clubs through around to west's honor probably, and then we get back in, and then we can finesse again through east. And what that will do in clubs again, and what that will do is that will mean that anytime east has one of the king or the queen of clubs, we're going to get some extra club tricks, 2 extra club tricks. So we would end up making 5. But there's a problem on this hand, is that they've led a heart. And we are going to, let's say we win the king of hearts. And we run the 9 of clubs. We said. Now they're going to win, and they're going to keep playing hearts. And unfortunately, that means that the heart suit is wide open. So now we have to decide, do we risk our contract to take the over tricks, to go for the club finesse? And the answer is absolutely yes, but let me talk about why. There's a couple things. First of all, how many hearts are left out? There are 4 hearts still left out in the deck. So it's possible that if we lose this club finesse, then the hearts will still be 2-2. So even in a worst case scenario with both clubs offside, we may still survive. But more importantly, the chances that one of the club honors was onside is so great, it's 75%, that it is well worth that risk. If you were to say to me on any given hand, I'll give you a choice. 75%, you can take a risk. 75% of the time, you're going to get a 75% board, and 25% of the time, you're going to get a 25%. I would take that every single day of the week. That's our goal as declarers, is to get ourselves in a spot where most of the time we're going to take more tricks than everybody else, but some of the times we're going to take less than tricks than everybody else. And so I would just feel very comfortable risking my contract here to take this finesse. So I would win the club, the heart, I would go across to the dummy and I would finesse the club. And it's really important that I don't care. If I go down, it doesn't matter. I'm comfortable. I know I've done the right thing. That's what you've got to say, like, I took a good chance. That was a good math situation. I would do that. If I could do that every hand, I'm going to have a huge game every single time I play. Dreams are made of hands like this where you can take. So that's thing number one, is just be willing to risk your contract for the right price. Okay, so for this next hand, we're gonna talk a little bit about just listening to the bidding and using the bidding to help us. So our right hand opponent opened a heart this time, and we could have made a takeout double, but we decided to overcall 1-no trump to show our points, and partner jumped to 3-no trump with a 10-point hand. And so here we are in 3-no trump. And again, here when we count our tricks, we have a heart, 5 clubs is 6, 2 diamonds is 8, and a spade is 9 short tricks. So, and again, we have a wide open suit. Like, they've led a heart, it's going to knock out our stoppers, we can take our ace of hearts. And now we've won the heart, and now the heart suit is wide open. So the question is, do we take this spade finesse or not? And the answer, once again, is yes. And not just because we love to take finesses and we want to take the maximum number of tricks possible, but in this case, we have the bidding. And when we count our points, we have 17 in our hand, and 10 in the dummy is 27. And so 27 points only leaves 13 for the opponents, and our right-hand opponent is open heart. So they have 12 points, at least. So, and we've already seen the jack of hearts on our left, so we know that the king of spades is on side. So this is a spot where it's 100%. We have to take the finesse. Now, they're not all going to be this cut and dry, but I just want to understand that the bidding can sometimes really make the hand make a decision like this simple. And you can't forget the bidding. So keep your focus on the bidding. I'm not going to bother playing this hand out, but you understand that all I'm saying is we were going to take our clubs, we're going to and eventually take that spade finesse. Okay, so for this next hand, this hand is from, it was used in, I believe, in an Audrey Grant's in her Bridge Basics series, maybe this hand or maybe a variant of it, which is great content. If you haven't read that book, or if you want to introduce new players to Bridge, that is really a wonderful way to learn. But here, it was introduced in the context of making your contract. So what I love about this hand, and I'm going to talk you through, is I would play this hand completely differently at Matchpoints or at Imps. So let's take a look at what's going on. So when we see the hand, we count our losers. We have no losers in spades. We just have 3 losers in hearts, no losers in clubs, and no losers in diamonds. So we have 3 losers. We're pretty good to make our contract. And so if we are playing this contract where we just have to make the hand, what we want to do is the thing that we need to be careful of is we would have to be careful of the fact that our spades are a little bit blocked. It's not going to be straightforward for us to draw trumps on this. We would like to draw trumps immediately, but we need to do it efficiently, because we're going to need to take the ace king on the one side, and then we're going to have to come over to our hand and take the queen jack 10. And so the way that you would play this hand to give yourself absolutely no risk of going down is you would have to win the king of clubs in the dummy at trick 1 to preserve the ace of clubs in our hand. That way we can play the ace king of spades, come across to our ace of clubs, and then finish drawing trumps. If we happen to win the ace of clubs at trick 1 down here, then what'll happen is we're going to go over and play the ace king of spades, and then we're not going to have an easy and quick way back to our hand to finish drawing trumps. We do have a way back to our hand to draw trumps by playing the ace king of diamonds and trumping a diamond over to our hand. But the problem with that is it puts us at risk of the second round or even the first round of diamonds being roughed. And so we're at risk of a 4-1 diamond break or a 5-0 diamond break. So if you're playing teams, you don't want to risk your contract in any way, shape, or form. But when you're playing pairs, your goal is not just to make your contract. Your goal is to take as many tricks as you possibly can. And on this hand, we actually have the potential to take all of the tricks when they didn't lead a heart. And we can do that by setting up dummies diamonds. But in order to enjoy dummies diamonds on this hand, we're going to need to draw trumps, ruff a diamond, and then return to dummy. And the problem is that the only way that we're going to be able to return to dummy is by keeping the king of clubs in the dummy. So this is a very cool hand where this entry management at trick 1, our decision of where to win the ace or king of clubs, fundamentally changes whether we're playing with the concept of with the goal of making our contract or with the goal of maximizing our tricks. And so I'm going to show you how I'm going to play the hand to maximize the trick. I'm going to leave the king of clubs in the dummy. I'm going to win the ace of clubs in my hand. And now I'm going to start drawing trumps. Now, my only way back to my hand is by trumping a diamond, you see. But this is the problem, is now when I play the king of diamonds, it could get roughed, and I could go down. But that's okay. I don't mind that risk, because I want to take more tricks than everybody else. And diamonds breaking 4-1 is not that likely. It's not that likely. You don't need to memorize it, but it is, a 3-2 break is 68%. So more than 2/3 of the time, diamonds are going to break. That is a perfect example, very similar to the 75% one we just looked at. We looked at a couple of hands ago, where we're willing to take that risk. If 68% of the time I'm going to get 3 extra tricks all day long, let's do it. So I'm roughing this. I'm finishing drawing trumps like my plan. The diamonds are now good. I'm going to throw away a heart here. And then finally, I get to go over to dummies, king of clubs, and enjoy the diamonds. Okay, so those last few hands, we really talked about being willing to expose ourselves to risk of something bad happening in order to gain more tricks. And sometimes it's just taking a percentage play in a suit, or looking for a 3-2 break, like on that hand we just last saw, being willing to expose ourselves to a 4-1 break in order to try to take more over tricks. And we also talked about using the bidding to guide us. That sometimes we're going to have a finesse and we're going to not know, but the bidding will tell us whether it's this person has bid a suit, and that suit we need to take a finesse, or maybe they've just showed points, and we can add up that they're very likely to have that finesse, that the finesse is likely to be on side. But now let's just talk about one more hand where we just talk about building a thought process around just getting rid of as many losers as we possibly can without having to bother with risking our contract. So this last hand, partner opens a club, we bid a spade, partner raises to 2 spades. We have 9 points, opposite partner's 12 to 14, not enough to invite game. So we pass and we get to play in 2 spades. So dummy comes down, and again, and you're going to hear me say this over and over again in these hands, the practice hands for this set. I tend to count my losers in the long hand, trump hand. So here we have 5 spades and dummy has 4. I'm going to look at the losers in the south hand. The spade suit, in a perfect world, they're going to break. We have 9 of them, so they're going to break 2-2, and we won't have any losers. But they might break 3-1. They might break 4-0, in which case we'll have 1 or 2 losers. But those losers will be completely out of our control. In hearts, I see 3 heart losers, the 5-4-2 of hearts. Now, when you're planning your play, you might see the doubleton heart and dummy and say, well, I only have 1 heart loser. What are you talking about? And you're right. You do have the potential to rough your heart losers in the north hand. But it's really important that you're concentrating on the 3rd and 4th hearts being losers, because we're going to need to make a plan that includes roughing those hearts and dummy. And sometimes we're going to have to decide whether to draw trumps first or not. And that's going to play a role. Like, acknowledging the 3rd and 4th hearts as losers will help you in the process of making a plan. In the club suit, we have 1 possible loser, but you do see that we have a finesse position that we could play a club to the queen. And if the king is onside, we won't have a club loser. And finally, we have diamonds, where we have 1 sure loser. I immediately see that diamond suit I see the potential of building a second trick up there that we can use to throw away one of our losers. So my goal is to just get rid of as many losers as I can, and I want to map my play around in the order of operations about being as efficient to get rid of all of my losers. And so I think, which loser would I want to get rid of that third diamond, on that third diamond? I could throw away a heart, or I could throw away a club. And they're both losers. We have almost a sure thing of trumping hearts and dummy. So we're going to be much better off using that third diamond to throw away a club. And then when I'm thinking about urgency, about when do we need to do that quickly, or can we wait till later to do that? The problem I see is that if West ever gets on lead before we've set up our diamond, they are going to lead it, they could lead a club, and that's going to force us to take the club finesse. So somehow in this plan, it looks to me like I want to urgently play diamonds and set up that king before I give the opponents the opportunity to play a club through that ace queen. But then the next question is, should I draw trumps first? And now, when in my teaching and also in my thinking, I think I want to draw trumps as quickly as I possibly can. I've done a whole class on the topic of when to draw trumps and when to delay drawing trumps, is what I call it. Because there are definitely a number of reasons why we might want to delay drawing trumps. And this hand actually has two of those reasons. I'm going to talk about what they are. So the other thing that we have to worry about is we do need to ruff two hearts in dummy. And in order to ruff two hearts in dummy, we're going to need two trumps in dummy to ruff them. So if we draw trumps right away, what bad could happen to us? We could play the ace of spades and the king of spades. And if the trumps are 2-2, nothing bad has happened. But if the trumps are 3-1, the problem is that in order to trump our hearts in dummy, we are going to need to lose a heart. And so if we play the ace king of trumps first and somebody has a third spade, and then we go to lose that heart trick, they might win and draw a third round of trumps, which would mean that we only have one trump left in dummy. So my plan of attack here is going to be, I've got a few things on my mind. I want to trump my hearts in dummy. I want to use the diamond to throw away my club. And now I recognize this fear, and I want to draw trumps as quickly as I can. But I see that there's a problem with me playing the ace king of trumps right away, because I might expose myself to them pulling that third. Now, what about me playing a heart right away? The problem with that, because that'll set up my heart ruffs, the problem with playing a heart right away is that will expose us to my left-hand opponent winning the heart and playing a club and forcing us to take the club finesse. So I see all of my losers. I start this hand with 4 or 5 losers-ish. But what do I have to do first? I see that I have to, I can't draw trumps first because I saw a problem with that. I can't give a heart first because they'll play a club. So that means I must play a diamond first. I have to focus on getting rid of that club loser in my hand first. So that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to win. And you'll see that I'm going to win this heart. And then I'm going to play the queen of diamonds immediately. Now they played a heart for me, which is all fine. Now, something small bad could happen here. The hearts could have been 5-2, and they could be over roughing a heart. That would be an absolute disaster. Okay, but now, before I pop in the club, you can see I don't want to take the club finesse because I don't need to. I've got that diamond set up. And now, should I draw trumps or should I cash the diamonds? Now, because I've knocked out the ace of diamonds and because I've knocked out the heart, I can safely draw trumps. I don't need to lose the lead again. So now I'm going to play ace of spades and a spade to the king and see what happens. Okay, they did break 3-1. So now I'm going to play a diamond over and throw away my club. I could trump a heart first, but really, they might rough in with the heart and take the club. I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to expose myself to no risk at this point. I'm just going to play diamonds right away, and I'm going to throw away my club. And then, yes, there's a high trump out, but they'll get it whenever they get it. So I'll play the king of diamonds, throw away my club, and now I can just keep cross-roughing, and they can't do anything about me roughing the last heart. So you see what I did there is I counted my losers, and I made a plan for which I looked which losers could I get rid of? I could get rid of the club loser on the diamond. I could get rid of the heart losers and dummy. And then when I was mapping out my line of play, I just decided what order to do things by thinking about what can go wrong with each action. Okay, that's it for your masterclass, Fun Bridge players. Thank you very much for joining me. I do want to highlight I have my website, wolpertbridge.com, where I teach lessons. The lessons are somewhere between $10 and $15 each. And I've highlighted two of my series here. Gavin's Master Series is a series that I teach on the system that I play with my expert partners, but also with my students. I have a philosophy on bidding that I don't like to play too many complicated conventions. So the only things that I really add to my system are things that come up a lot and are really high value and things that are mostly played among all experts. Those classes are taught to an intermediate level, but they also have lots and lots of meat for even really advanced players can learn a lot from them. You might not even know you want lessons, and those are there could be a lot of stuff that you can learn there. Then there's Wolpert's on competitive bidding, where my mom and I teach a course where we go through completely essential competitive bidding agreements and things and understandings that you must have, that every intermediate must know, on their road to becoming an advanced player. Everything in that series is completely standard. It's what you would play no matter who you sat down with. And so check those two out. There's also stuff on Wolpert's on Declare Play, where we talked through that, like earlier in this class, when to delay drawing trumps. And I also have some really good classes on declaring 4/4 fits and declaring 7-card fits. And if you're not interested in spending $10 or $15 on a class, that's cool. I also have a YouTube channel at Wolpert Bridge where there's lots of free content. So thank you very much for having me here on Funbridge, and I hope to see you guys again soon.